When did Europeans begin settling in Australia? 1625, 1788, 1845, 1911. 1788, Europeans first began settling in Australia. Even today, Australia is still welcoming a new immigration all over the world to the country. Which of the following has the power to appoint judges and magistrates in Australia? All Australian citizens, the churches, the king, the government. The government. Although the government appoints judges and magistrates, it cannot remove them from office simply because it disagrees with their ruling. Australia's parliamentary democracy is modeled after that of which nation? Spain, Britain, Canada, Greece. Britain. What city are the Australian Parliament and High Court located in? Perth, Sydney, Brisbane, Canberra. Canberra. Whose responsibility is to administer federal election and referendums? The King, the Cabinet, the Australian Electoral Commission, the police. The Australian Electoral Commission, or AEC, is an agency of the Commonwealth which administers federal election and referendums and maintain the Commonwealth electoral roll. What is South Australia's state capital? Whyalla, Ceduna, Adelaide, Bordertown. Adelaide. What does a jury do? Member of the jury help review a bill. Member of the jury vote and elect the judge for the trial. Members of the jury determine whether a defendant is guilty or not guilty. Members of the jury act as witness to ensure the trial is fair. A jury is a committee of average citizens who are on an electoral roll being selected at random. Throughout the trial process, they listen to the evidence presented in a court case and determine whether the defendant is guilty or not at the end of the trial. Who has the highest authority in a court? The king, magistrate or judges, witnesses, jurors. Magistrate or judges. What do Australians recognize as the important factor in maintaining an orderly society? Is it economic prosperity, strong religious values, or is it obedience to Australian laws, or is it strong Australians' defense force? Obedience to Australian laws. What is the national language in Australia? English, Italian, German, French. English. Our official national language is English. The ability to communicate in English enables you to get more involved and assimilate better in the Australian society. In an Australian court, who may instruct a magistrate or judge on how to decide a court case? Nobody. The Prime Minister. The Governor General, a wealthy person who can afford the huge bribe. Nobody. The court highest authority is a judge or magistrate. Judges and magistrates are independent for all outside influences and cannot be told what to decide. What would happen if you did not vote in an election? Your citizenship will be revoked. You must vote in the next election because the law imposes a minimum of voting in every election. You will be penalized with a fine if you do not submit an acceptable explanation. Voting in elections are optional for Australian citizens. You will be penalized with a fine if you do not submit an acceptable explanation. Citizens aged 18 or older are required to vote in federal, state, and territorial election in Australia. If you do not provide a valid excuse or reason for voting, you will be penalized with a fine. Why is it important to learn English in Australia? Because you get exempted from some laws if your English proficiency is high. Because it is official language, which makes it easier with obtaining an educational, a career, and integrating into the society. Because you will be considered more superior than those who don't. Because it is easier language to learn. Because it is the official language, which makes it easier with obtaining an education and career and integrated into the society. Where do you apply for a firearm license in Australia? The federal government, the state and territory government, the police, local gun shop. The police. In Australia, it is illegal for a person to carry weapons such as knives or guns. Anyone who intends to own a gun, such as for use on a farm, is required to apply for a firearm license from the police. Which of the following is an example of damaging the interest and security of Australia? Not buying home insurance coverage for your house, leaking sensitive or classified government documents online, protesting against a new government policy, refusing to work overtime hours in government job. Leaking sensitive or classified government documents online. What country were the colonies in Australia belong to? Britain, Italy, Russia. Britain. Australia was a former British colony. Which of the following statement is true? All Australians are treated equally under the law and no one is above the law. The Australian laws do not apply to the King, Prime Minister, and Governor General. The Australian laws do not apply to any government officials and wealthy people. Australians are allowed to practice their religious traditions even if they are illegal. All Australians are treated equally under the law and no one is above the law. What touched the earth to form opal according to Aboriginal stories? A rainbow, a tornado, a lightning bolt, a meteor. A rainbow. Which of the following is legal responsibility of Australian citizen? Become an employee of the Australian government, contribute to your community, become a home or property owner, help defend Australia if the need ever arises. The following are legal responsibilities of Australian citizens: obey the law, vote in elections, defend Australia when the need arises, and serve on a jury when summoned. Are people allowed to choose who they want to marry or not to marry? Yes, people have complete freedom on whether to marry or not to marry. No, it is arranged by their parents or family. Yes, only men are allowed but not women. Yes, but only people with political background are allowed. Yes, people have complete freedom on whether to marry or not to marry.